Welcome to another OCD Recovery YouTube video. Been a little while since I've been on here, so I'll make sure I cover a lot of points today. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how people spend their time. Now, with social media these days, particularly TikTok and things like that, people end up watching a load of rubbish, right? Now, the reason being is because we live in a society where we are looking for instant, quick entertainment. That's what we're after, 24/7. Because we've been conditioned by these apps, this very cleverly thought out multi-billion-dollar algorithm for getting humans sucked in, scrolling their life away. Now, people don't normally think of it that deeply. They don't think of that. They think, oh, there's a funny video of someone falling down. Oh, there's a funny dog picture. I do this. There's nothing wrong with this in a balance, in a moderation. But it's the constant hours and hours of scrolling through this stuff and just looking for those quick dopamine rush, bits of excitement, funny jokes, okay? Where's that getting you in life? These things, there's so much great resources. Like you can learn, it's like going to university every day with YouTube now. You can learn anything about anything fast. And there's so much great stuff. And it doesn't matter how many views it has. That's a load of crap. Some of the best videos I've ever seen had the lowest number of views. And I watch them and think, oh my God, how can people not be watching this? This is unbelievable facts in this program. Such amazing insight in just 5 minutes. And the things had barely any views. And then the thing with millions of views is the bland, mass-marketed, normally sort of celebrity culture endorsed video with a bland message that I've been repackaged and sent out thousands of times, and I've seen thousands of times all the time, right? That's the way the world is with these things, okay? It is like that. Rob, why are you so anti-celebrity culture? I'm not anti-celebrities in of itself in terms of people being famous for something. They're famous just for being the sake of being famous for being known with no talent. I have no interest in. And this sort of, today we've got this society where it's just like, oh, this celebrity, oh, look at this car, look at this watch, look at this thing. And there's nothing there that I'm seeing. It's just completely empty. There's no exciting, interesting story that I'm hearing where someone's overcome incredible difficulty and achieved something or some amazing creative insight. Of course, there's tons of that, but loads of the stuff you see is just this stuff with no meaning. If you just go through TikTok, you have everybody setting up a podcast. Somebody who's 14 setting up podcasts, nothing wrong with that. Great for all people to set up podcasts at all ages and do that. And amazing podcasts by people of all ages. But when someone's sort of 14, doing a podcast, joking with friends, and the whole content of it is just jokes. I understand they make a lot of money, a lot of those things, and I completely support all of the sort of entrepreneurial ambition and everything they're doing in the sense of that. But when you're the consumer and you're just watching a group of young lads make jokes like in school in a video, and you're watching that in every TikTok video, and you're sitting there going, oh yeah, that was funny, next clip, oh, that was funny, next clip. What are you gaining from that? Is that bringing you towards your goals in life? Is that getting you to where you want to be? Is that schoolroom jokes that when you're young and you're doing that, or when you're old and it's fun now and again, but if you're doing that all the time, where's that getting you? You're only improving your knowledge to the level of the person who's giving you the knowledge. So, okay, look, I can work with someone who's 8 years old. I could speak to someone who's 8 years old who's got a great insight on having OCD. And they might have a great insight. I think, wow, that's a great wisdom. Or on anything in life. They might have a great wisdom on the garden and gardening or whatever. But if you're watching a video with no insight and it's just jokes, where's your time going? It's going down the drain. And you're just in that algorithm. You're just feeding the algorithm, scrolling through, and just sort of little dopamine rush, nothing improving your life. And do you feel really happy with that? because I don't, right? I don't feel happy with that. It's like when I'm sitting there doing that and I think, oh my God, I could be out going for an amazing walk, exercise, a nice dinner, seeing friends, seeing family, sport, millions of things. And then just the scrolling. It's great at times, but all the time, it's a problem. Now that doesn't mean avoid it, get away from it. There's so much great stuff online. Online's great for knowledge. It's fantastic for that. Hence why we built this channel to share information about OCD, free information all around the world for OCD so people can reach it who can't get access to it. So it's obviously got its benefits. You can, if you want to learn maths, you can learn maths on YouTube. And if you want to learn French, you can learn French on YouTube. And it's fantastic. But you've got to look at where you're putting your energy. Where are you putting your energy? If you're just watching things for like sort of silly gags all day long, there's a problem, okay? Make sure that the people that you're watching it because it's going to improve your life in some way. Not always, of course, fun and excitement, a bit of that is fine, but not all the time, okay? Because that's what they know is people want. They know that people want just silly jokes all the time. And then you're going to have a whole population just sitting scrolling at silly jokes, which they are. Okay? I don't want to sound too negative, but I'm trying to do it from a position of empowerment and motivation. Even the empowerment and motivation stuff that you see is really the same situation. Some guy driving a Ferrari saying, my key to life, work hard. Thank you for that incredible tip that 90% of people know. And it's like a guy driving a rented car saying basic bland comments on motivation. There is thousands of those things, okay? Especially on TikTok, you see that all the time. You want to be just looking for, where am I getting the insight from, the information? I look to videos from 50 years ago, some person talking about their experience in the war, some psychologist from 60 years ago talking about their insights on life, somebody who's a writer who spent years writing books in sort of alone, putting all their energy into writing. And I think, wow, what an amazing insights into life. Like why I like the likes of Bukowski and things like that, because it's just such depth that they had to go through so much pain and loneliness to experience those insights, as well as having that amazingly creative mind to capture that and encapsulate that in the way they write it. Same as Dostoevsky, absolutely incredible, one of my favorites. And you look at that stuff and and then you go back to the TikTok scrolling. And if you went back 70 years ago and you said to your great-great-grandfather, oh, this is the future, look, funny gags all day long, forget it, it's a nightmare. And people are aware of it but still do it. And then it's so important to do that. Think of all the literature you've got out there. Think of all the great business books that you've got if you want to build a business, and the great insight into building a business, and the great videos on YouTube by some of people that have achieved incredible entrepreneurial things in their life, and they've written and accounted all of that struggle, and full of such amazing quotes and real stories that are realistic, instead of so much of the junk that you see on TikTok, which says things like, take out the biggest loan possible, risk it all, go all in on everything, and then people go bust, because they're just basically doing it fueled on people's lack of knowledge and adrenaline and thinking, oh, I've just got to do it, and then that's what happens, and it's a disaster. So you've only got to go on YouTube and type in investments on particular stocks, and all the videos that come up are people that have barely invested at all and have a history of about 3 months of investing. Just because their videos full of funny jokes and stuff, it ranks with a lot of views. And what are you learning? What are you getting from it? And I don't want to sound too negative, but it's important to highlight that, because otherwise people are doing that. It was like with the anxiety quick fix ebooks of the past 20 years ago. The internet used to be full of them. You used to scroll down a page, it'd be like all this stuff that you need to recover. And then it was like, buy this ebook, and you'd buy this ebook, and it would just say something like, distract yourself and play the guitar and go to a concert and keep distracted all the time, and anxiety will go away, whether you've got PTSD, GAD, OCD or anything. That is complete crap, and I spent years doing that, because you can't obviously run away from anxiety, because it's within you and it knows you're scared and trying to run away. Hence why we say about bring it for the ride. So that stuff is rampant, and you see that so much today. So I think it's so important to focus on that and highlight that. that, because otherwise it's such an easy habit to get into. I catch myself doing that, like ages of TikTok videos, which I thought, how did I get addicted to looking at this? It's a complete waste of time, and so now I'm stricter with it. You've got to be aware of those things. You've got to use it for the resources that are good for you, the things that are going to further your knowledge on whatever you're into, whatever career you've got. But just be careful of that sort of algorithm that's designed to keep you scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about that was a particular reason. I was speaking to someone today about fear of fear. And I was talking about how light bulb moments occur out of nowhere. And let me give you an example of how moments in our life happen where we have a change in perspective where we weren't looking for it. I could go out for dinner tonight and I could sit down with a glass of wine and I could be having dinner and I could suddenly reflect on something about my life. And I could think, because life is moving, so we're transitioning through life, and then we suddenly have moments where we then look back at how life's transitioned, and we have a light bulb moment of, it might be how our family is getting older, how our business is developing, or how our relationship's developing, how our relationship's going down, how our business is going down, how our family relationship is going down. Whatever way you think of things, you have little realizations, okay? You have little realizations along this journey, okay? Those you can't force, they come out of nowhere. We have those throughout our life. Maybe you are 17, you've just started dating a girl, you've gone on a date, you're standing at the bar, you've just kissed the person that you wanted to kiss, and you're reflecting on it, the music's playing, and you think, wow, this is an amazing evening and things are going well for me. That's a moment, that's a light bulb moment, that's a thing you're thinking in that moment. So those come out of nowhere. It's like when I was working with Nick for ages. He was, Rob, I'm never going to get rid of this. Rob, this is so scary. This sensation is so terrible, 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 terrible. And that realization when it's fear of fear, and because people always want to do something, give me an exposure, give me an exposure, give me an exposure. And that's the chase. And those realizations, those light bulb moments come along throughout life, just come to you. You have them. Maybe you're driving, you've got the music on, you're thinking about life, and you think, wow, I'm going to do this with my life, or I'm not going to do that. And you have those, and they come along, and that's why you learn things all the time. I have light bulb moments about all aspects of my life. It's not to do with being recovered, it's just to do with life. Life is realizations. Life is realizations that you have that shift your life. So the more you're watching great things, the more you're going to encourage these light bulb moments. The same as a lot of great people in terms of successful lives and whatever they're doing, say they go swimming for half an hour a day, so they can just allow thoughts to come into their head out of nowhere, and then they think clearly. Great insight into things, great way of approaching life. However, if you're just scrolling, watching sort of videos of, like I said, those kind of sort of mind-numbing videos, you ain't getting too many light bulb moments. You're getting quick dopamine releases, boom, 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 number, and that's it. Okay, and there's always going to be people producing that stuff. You've got to ask yourself, am I watching the show with the entertainment, or has it now become not helping me? You're watching someone else's great life, but is it making your life great? Because that's what so much of the celebrity stuff's like. You watch it, they just bought this new car, they just bought this new house, they just bought this new baby. You don't know them. They don't know you. They're happy that you're watching their thing because that's how they're making money. But they do not know you. And they are completely focused on, of course, a lot of them are focused on their message and on whatever they're doing. A lot of the celebrities, but a lot of them are just doing it for the improvements that it's making to their life. And where is it getting you? You feel like you know them, but you don't know them. Okay, you've never spoken to them. So that's so important to remember, because the culture's like that. People feel so connected to these celebrities and they think, oh my God, I've followed the birth of their baby and all of this stuff. And it's like, well, you've never met them, you never know them, and it's not actually improving your life. So you've really got to think about that. And I don't like to sound so negative, because I know it brings a lot of people fun and they enjoy the stories and stuff like that. And that's great. And doing it in a smaller doses is good. But when it's becoming your life, you're watching another life and not watching yours. Okay? If I'm watching a story of someone on TV, a documentary about some guy's life who's achieved incredible things, overcome so many difficulties, not just become famous because they were born into a sort of good-looking body and landed on a reality show. If I watch a story that's got great depth, I'm watching that and I'm thinking, wow, what an amazing story. I'm going to apply that to my life and I'm going to think about how that works. And that's got great insight. And I can see that they're sharing knowledge that's genuinely going to help people, right? That's going to help people. Even if he wasn't sharing knowledge that was going to help people, but about his life, it helped me just by doing it. But not the numbing stuff where it's just nothing, no message there apart from I bought these trainers, I bought this watch, I bought this car, and there's 1,000 of those all day long on Instagram and on YouTube. So I think it's important to remember that stuff, okay? I really think it's important to remember that stuff. And I think it's important to particularly focus on improving your knowledge all the time and thinking, what can I expand on? If you look at when you read books, if you're reading a book and you're not learning much from it at all, don't read it. It's bottom line. If you're watching loads of documentaries and you're not learning much, don't read it. I go and watch a movie sometimes or watch a documentary and I think my life's changed in a moment just watching it. That's the kind of stuff you want to be focusing your energy on. Now, you're not always going to land on that and you can't always hunt that out. The same as like I used to read Rotten Tomatoes for every film review I read. I used to be like, right, it needs to be over 95%, otherwise I don't want to waste my time. And that was not very good because I was missing so many great films that I also loved that didn't have the greatest reviews, but had great experiences. So life is experience as well. That's why we're having fun and exciting things, but it's got to be, a large portion of it's got to be where it's taking your life, okay? Because where they want you, and when I say they, the company that's producing that product, is sitting, watching Netflix, doing nothing, okay? That is really not where you want to be. You don't want to be just sitting watching Netflix, too tired from your job, come home, watch Netflix, scroll TikTok, bed. Too tired at your job, scroll TikTok, watch Netflix, bed. Don't do that. And then the other thing is, then you have the cult of overwork, where you go on TikTok and the guy's saying, get up at 4, work all day, and then you'll get what you want. That is a disaster because you'll end up sacrificing your whole life for something that may or may not happen. You do need a balance. Work very hard, yes, but don't be getting up at 4 a.m, not sleeping at all, and working this sort of extreme life that's all encouraged on those things for complete burnout and no enjoyment in the now, where your whole life's a sacrifice. Because you might not get the thing you want and you've sacrificed too much. So it's got to be a balance, okay? And realistically, when you look at life, and I've heard lots of people that are very successful talk about this over the years, most and only the people that are very successful have realized the trap of overworking. And they've realized, no, look, don't get me wrong, I work very hard because I enjoy being passionately involved in something, okay? If I worked in a print paper packaging business, I don't think I would be as passionately involved as I am with what I do with OCD. So I always recommend people to find the thing that you're passionate about and get really involved in it, okay? That's always the recommendation of most people. They say, get really passionate, because you're going to be doing something a lot of your life, so you've got to be passionate about it. Now, the point that I was saying about what people say is they say that people who are very successful, I'm talking about maybe a top athlete or something like that, they've been in a position where they can do most things they want. And they always say, once you've got your main human needs met, food, sex, connection with somebody, or whatever, not talking about relationship OCD and fear of loss of connection, I'm saying spending time with someone, eating dinner, having sex, exercise, and family. You've got most things covered, okay? You don't need to feel connected with the RSD thing, like I need to feel connected. If I'm not connected, it's terrible, it's unbearable, I can't stand it. You can just spending time with someone, even if you're not connected, like when you watch a movie and they're actors, you don't know they're actors, but you still enjoy the movie, just as a reference for RSD. But the point about that is, when your whole life, you look at it and all the things you've done and achieved and everything, at the end of the day, what you love the most, sharing a drink, having a laugh with friends. All the happiest moments in my life, younger, sharing drinks, having a laugh with friends. I'm not talking about a reference to going out and drinking loads. I'm talking about just having a drink, doesn't even have to be alcoholic, but just enjoying time with friends. That's usually top of the list, right? Or doing a sport, doing exercise that you like, watching a great film, these kinds of things, okay? Doesn't matter how much money you have, those basic needs are the sort of baseline, okay? Everything else is a bonus when you really look at it. All the things people think they want. I want a house with this number of bedrooms. Why? To show off to my friends that I have social status, that I'm higher above, But do you need all those rooms? No. Could you be happy with one? Were you happy with one before? Yes. And then you look at it and break it all down, and then you start seeing. I'm not talking about minimalism, and not that I'm against it. I think there's a huge benefits to that. But I'm talking about that in life, you've got to look at what makes you happy. What do you really need, and all the things that you think you need. If Marcus Aurelius could be happy, in his position with everything he ever wanted. And compared to today's wealth, Marcus Aurelius would be on a completely different league. And he was writing books on philosophy, like the book on our reading list, Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, talking all about balance and appreciating things and not needing, all the basis of Stoicism. And you look at that and you think about that, it makes so much sense. And it's so key. It doesn't mean don't get a nice car. It doesn't mean don't get a nice watch. It doesn't mean wear brands that show off. You can do all of that stuff. You hear a lot of people say today things like, no, you shouldn't have this car. You should work so hard until. If you want to have that car, why not? Who judges on that? If you want to have a nice car, if you want to have a nice watch, you want to do that, do all of that stuff. It's fun. I've done those fun things. Everyone's done those fun things in different ways. We've all done that, and then or we're doing that or whatever. It doesn't have to be in relation to things that are very expensive. It can be to do with things that are buying a more expensive shirt than you would want, buying a cooler trousers that don't cost a lot, that are different to other people's because you want to show them off. That's all fine. We've all done those things. I remember when I was 17. I remember buying a shirt. I grew up in the early 2000s, 90s, this kind of time. And I remember it was back around that time, everyone was buying trainers and things like that. And trainers, very expensive at that time, would have been trainers for £100, $100, $120. And when you bought those, it was amazing, so cool, and you wanted them and stuff. Now the trainers are 15,000 or 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. All these things that you see people wearing now. I'm talking the top things that people are showing on Instagram. Those things are that price because how far society has moved with being focused on materialistic things. 5,000 for trainers and things like that. It's getting absolutely crazy. I understand they're collectible, but most of the time what's happening is people's views of things, of materialistic owning things, is becoming more and more, and they're losing the things like what we did when we were young, cycling to a friend's house, going and going outside in nature, doing all those things. And when you get out into nature, it's like when I look out this window and we're in the middle of COVID and I thought, fuck, I'm locked in, I've got this bloody lockdown, and I looked out and I see the birds flying and I think to myself, they don't even know about COVID. And that view has not changed before COVID, after COVID. Nature is still, it's in the moment. You can learn so much from animals and nature and being outside. It doesn't cost anything. And that life, when you get yourself around that, then you get your perspective balanced. It doesn't mean not having the shoes. It doesn't mean if you want to spend £2,000 on shoes and you want to save up and do that, nothing wrong with that. And there's no judgment if you really enjoy it and the collecting of it. I completely understand. But you've got to try and maintain the balance of rational thinking. It's a very difficult topic to talk about because it's a topic which is always met with criticism from one angle or another. Where people always take a strong stance, like I'm anti it or I'm for it, or you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. You live once, okay? This is the bottom line. You live once. I never judge anyone how they want to spend their money, okay? If somebody wants to go on holiday and they want to go to Vegas and they want to buy really expensive wine and they want to go out every night and they're really happy and they do that, who cares? That's what they want to do with their life. They really want to enjoy that. There's nothing wrong with that. That obviously is exciting because people do it, Everything. Someone wants to spend no money and just paint a picture. Amazing. Amazing if you want to go out and they enjoy it. Amazing if they want to get a nice car and enjoy it. Amazing if they want to buy all the designer stuff and they enjoy it. But if they're going bust over it and it's not making them happy and they're feeling more and more removed from everything, then it becomes a nightmare, right? And society today, so many of those things are missed. Now, I know I normally come on here and talk about OCD, but these are all rational things to do with life that are very, very important because all of these hurdles are all parts of our lives. Everyone moves through life and thinks, okay, I want to buy this flat at this time or rent this flat at this time and then have a bit bigger. And then you've got to ask yourself, there's a famous quote that says something like, if you buy the things, I can't remember the quote exactly, but it's something like, if you buy all the things you want one day and then the day you'll have to sell the things you need. And the basis of that is, what you're doing is, if you have a view in your life, I want my life to look like this for other people, how much are you doing this for other people? When people buy a very big house, they're doing it so that they can invite friends around and say, look at my house. If people are, but in all things, it doesn't have to be relevant to that. It can be the t-shirt, it can be the trousers, it can be everything. How much are you doing things for other people to view it, to observe it, to see it, to give you credit for it, to that kind of stuff? Because once you care less about that, you are free. I realized that years ago in one area of my life when I thought to myself, How much do I notice what pairs of what trousers people wear? I couldn't remember one pair of trousers. Like, I remember I was about 17. I was going on a night out and I thought, fuck, I've only brought one pair of trousers on this holiday. I thought I'm gonna be wearing the same trousers every night. And then I thought, well, I can't remember. And this was one of my first rational things that I thought I can't remember what trousers anyone was wearing. I can't remember. I can remember the shirts, but I can't remember the trousers. And then I just wore those trousers, and then I thought, oh, it doesn't make any difference. No one even knew. Because most people are too fixated on what they look like to even notice what you look like, most of the time. People spend so long getting ready and thinking this and thinking that, and the other person's thinking that about themselves. If the other person turns up and their clothes is not exactly right, the way that you would like to have your clothes, whatever, then you would think, nah, their clothes are like that, but what about me, right? So it's always going to be like that, okay? So you've got to think people care more about how they are than usually you on the street. I'm not talking about loved ones. So so those things aren't as important as you imagine them to be in your head. So you've got to get this balance right. You've got to really think about this, and you've got to ask yourself, is a lot of the way I'm living very irrational? You get people that buy a house that can't afford it, and then they have to sell it because they were so excited about that house, they believed that house would bring them happiness the second they had it. But it doesn't, because if it did, every person who had the biggest house and the best cars would all be smiling, and they're not. Because everything we get used to, and then we get scared of losing it. Because then we build a new baseline. Okay, they've got the house, the car, all these things. Oh my God, I can't imagine going back. But there was a time when you used to live with your parents and you didn't have any money, and it might have been not that great at times, but it wasn't hell. You still had dinner with them, you still went out on the odd night out, you still did things in sports, and it wasn't that bad. Okay? This is the conversation I have with people who are going bankrupt, have terrible anxiety and depression over it. And I have to have this conversation all the time. And many people have come in over the years in those positions. Okay? That is a thing where people's whole world is instantly hit in 1 second. Something's gone wrong. They feel like they're going to lose everything. They want to die. They think, oh my God, I'm not going to have a house. Then my kids can't go to that school. Then I can't have the car. And then they think, but it's like, well, you were with your wife before in a small flat and you were so happy. You said you had the best times and did all the best things. Yeah, but not now. Now I've got a different... Yeah, but that's your perspective in your head. It's never as bad as they think. It's never as bad as you think. All right, kids have to move school. You have to go in a smaller flat. You think you're the first person who's ever done that? It's going to be uncomfortable, but you're going to learn so much more about life, and you're going to feel very, very different. All the hardest things that have ever happened to me in my life, I've always got a new sort of light bulb moment and a new depth from that experience. You know, everything that becomes more shallow and more chasing, you lose that. You know, think about it. Think when you were ill and you shared a nice dinner with your family. I can think of moments like that, especially with OCD, where I shared a nice dinner with my family. My mum made a nice dinner, made one of my favorite meals or something. And I was 22 and I don't know, maybe I thought I had a health problem and gone into the hospital because of health OCD. And then I'd come back and I thought, oh, it's so great to be with my family and have dinner. And those things you appreciate so much. Okay. This is a vital way to constantly change your perception on life. You can do it any moment, anything, any relationship, any job, any house, anything you own. It doesn't matter if you've lost everything. It doesn't matter if you've just made a fortune. It's your perspective, okay? We know it's perspective. You can go to the poorest villages in the world, and the richest estates in the world, and you will see happiness in different ones. They've done studies like this with lottery winners and people that are disabled in a wheelchair. People in the wheelchair tend to be happier than the lottery winners. That's a study, and you can see would be very likely is going to be true because they've got their perspective. They're taking a lot more in terms of how they're viewing the world. Whereas the other one, it's become a lot more shallower, and they've got all the problems that they didn't have before, and now their whole life's changed. Now everyone's asking them for money. Now they're in a world where everyone knows that they've won the lottery, and they're having to keep up with that image. So that happens. I remember having a conversation with a lottery winner years ago. It was a guy that I knew. He was a security guard on a jewelry store, and I remember his father won the lottery, and they won a lot of money. And I remember he quit his job the same day, and he went into the jewelers and he bought a diamond ring for his girlfriend that was a fortune, and probably more than 10 years of his pay if he'd just had saved it all and never taken a penny. And I don't think that's gone well at all. I haven't seen him for years, but I can remember the stories after that weren't sounding good at all, because his whole life changed. The things that he thought he wanted, were things that didn't turn out the way he'd imagined, right? And they say that the best thing for lottery winners is to keep their job and keep their life going, put the money in the bank, do the things, the exciting things, but still keep the balance, of course, because all these things shape and change your life quickly. Everything's shaping and changing your life quickly. If I go and play football 7 days a week, my life's going to be changed by football. If I go and date somebody else, my life's going to be shaped by the person I'm dating. If I move to another country, my life's going to be shaped by the place I'm moving. This is why I say to people about life structure all the time. I say this is how much it shapes and changes your life. People say to me, oh, but it can't make that much difference. Yes, it does. All little things around us are making a difference all the time. So that's why it's so important to look at what's going on, perspectives, seeing how we're viewing things, seeing when they're getting out of control. Look at a gambler. His risks are getting more and more and more. He's taking more and more risks all the time, and he's not aware of those risks because they just keep spiraling and spiraling and spiraling, because it's more and more risk behavior. He's in an environment where it's looks like everyone's winning. He's hearing slot machines and money pouring in, so he's thinking, oh my God, I'm going to win soon, chasing. The casino's treating him like a king, so he's feeling like that, and then he's losing all his money. And these things are all like that, subtle shifts that are happening around us that we're not aware of. So it's always important to bring ourselves back into the moment and think about how we're approaching happiness and thinking about how we're approaching our life. I hope that didn't go on too much. Different topics today, but I thought were really important to cover. Always tricky subjects to touch on and to do because of different perspectives of them and so on. But I hope I covered those well enough. If you like this video, please like it by clicking below and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Helps us to get information out there about OCD. Guys, great to have you all here. I'll be back on in the next couple of days doing more YouTube videos, more OCD topics. And I think, what am I going to cover next? We've done a lot on fear of fear recently. I was going to go back to doing some existential stuff, because I know people with solipsism, fear after pain after death. It sounds silly if you don't know existential. Fear of alien abduction, fear of a glitch in the universe, fear of a glitch in the simulation if we're in a simulation, fear of being in an alien computer game, fear of the vastness of space. The list goes on and on and on and on. And what if gravity goes? All those different ones. I had all of those. And those were actually very, very scary for me, because I thought, how can this, now that I've just realized this, how am I ever going to be peace and relax ever again? And so that is what I'm going to be covering in one of the next videos. Guys, great to see you all on here. I will be back on here very soon. All right, guys, take it easy. See you later.